The Kharijites, also called Khawarij, were one of the first groups to break away from the main body of early Muslims. They emerged during the First Civil War, called the First Fitna, in the 7th century CE, when disagreements over leadership and how to follow God's commands split the community. They held that a true Muslim must live a perfectly pious life. If a Muslim committed a major sin, the Kharijites believed that person lost true faith and became an unbeliever, a practice known as takfir. This view is much stricter than in mainstream Islam, where sinners are not automatically considered non-Muslims. They believed that leadership should go only to those who are morally pure and righteous, regardless of tribal ties or family lineage. In their view, anyone with true piety could become a leader, unlike the mainstream idea that favored certain families or tribes. Their famous slogan was, "There is no judgment but God, la hukma illa lillah." They argued that only God can decide who is right or wrong, not humans through negotiation or arbitration. The Kharijites didn't just label sinners as unbelievers. They believed that those who committed major sins must be harshly punished. In their view, acts such as adultery, theft, or other serious transgressions were not merely mistakes but signified a total loss of faith. Any Muslim committing such sins was declared an apostate. Because they believed that a true Muslim must be free from major sin, they often called for the death penalty for such individuals. Their methods were brutally violent, ranging from beheading to other forms of capital punishment, as they saw this as essential to purging sin and maintaining a pure, godly community. The Kharijite movement began during the conflict between Caliph Ali and Muawiyah. When Ali agreed to settle the dispute with Muawiyah by arbitration, a peaceful negotiation, many of his supporters felt that he was compromising God's law. They rejected any decision that wasn't made solely by God's will. This disagreement led them to leave Ali's army and form a distinct group that would oppose both Ali and Muawiyah. Their departure from Ali's forces marked the beginning of a long series of rebellions against what they saw as un-Islamic leadership. One of the most famous episodes is the Battle of Nahrawan in 658 CE. Here, Ali's forces clashed with the Kharijites near a canal in Iraq. Despite being greatly outnumbered, Ali's well-organized army defeated them. The Kharijites were known for their fierce bravery and willingness to fight to the death. They carried out violent raids and were even responsible for the assassination of Caliph Ali by one of their own members. Their battles were marked by a deep conviction that anyone who did not follow what they believed was the only true form of Islam was an enemy to be fought. Over the years, successive Islamic governments, the Umayyads and then the Abbasids, suppressed the Kharijite rebellions. Their extreme methods and internal divisions made it hard for them to maintain a unified force. As they kept fracturing, their influence diminished. By around the 10th century, the more radical Kharijite groups had largely been eliminated. However, one branch evolved into what is now known as the Ibadis, a moderate group that still exists today mainly in Oman and parts of Africa. It is important to note that while Ibadis share some roots with the early Kharijites, they reject the extremist labels and practice a much more moderate form of Islam. Historically, the Kharijite movement split into many smaller groups. Some sources mention as many as 18 to 22 subsects. The main ones often noted are Azariqa, the most extreme faction known for uncompromising takfir and violent methods; Sufriyyah, a somewhat more moderate group that still insisted on strict adherence to their interpretation; Najdat, another group that eventually faded from prominence; Ibadis, a moderate offshoot that distanced itself from the radical practices of other Kharijites and survives today; These subdivisions show the internal disagreements within the movement on how strictly to interpret the religion and what actions to take against those who disagree. Thanks for watching.